I want to dive in here and talk a little bit about how the way kind of influences different characters across the Mandalorian.
Ooh, okay, all right.
So Ryan, why don't you bring us up to the mountaintop here, where we're going to talk about one of my favorite Mandalorian characters, love Carl Weathers, Grief Karga.
Yes. All right. So in our mountaintop scene, again, our discussion is like, why do we have all these rules, and how do you know when it's okay to break the rules? And the Mandalorian's in this situation where he has several sets of rules that are telling him to do one thing, and his gut is telling him to do a different thing. And the point where this sort of all comes to a head is not the point at which he decides, but where it sort of becomes clear to him. He's in the cantina with Grief Karga, who's the bounty hunter patron who hands out the tags and the jobs. And Grief Karga is explaining very calmly and very logically and very correctly, like, this is how it works. You took the commission, you're getting paid for the gig. Like, you forget that you did the job and you go do another thing. Like, that's this code that you've committed to. And he's just come out of a meeting where the Mandalorians have told him basically the same thing. Like, this is the way we stay secret. You shouldn't put us at risk by getting involved with the Imperials. You shouldn't put us at risk by doing something that will cause you to stand out in the world. And the Imperials have told him the same thing. The Imperials are like, it's really none of your business what we do. Like, you did your part of the job. Go back into your little corner, and we'll take it from here. Right. So he's got all these messages, and he's sitting there, and he's like, just give me another job, and I'm out of here. Like, just give me another job. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to celebrate. I don't want to drink. I don't want you to tell everybody how amazing I am. Like, I did the stupid thing. I'm not happy about the stupid thing. Just give me another job, and I'll leave. Anybody watching this knows 100% what's going to happen, right? But you're looking at this, and you're just like, there's no way that he's at peace with this, which is an impressive acting job for Pedro Pascal, encased in a chrome helmet, to be able to express with posture and tone of voice that he's clearly dissatisfied with the state of the world. But we're pretty clear, and Grief Karga is right? The Carl Weathers character he's right. Like, these are the rules, and this is the correct thing to do, and this will cause the fewest ripples. This will not disrupt the process. All of the organizations will be happy with you. The bounty hunters will be happy. The Imperials will be happy. The Mandalorians will be happy. You'll get paid. You got your shiny armor. Like, what are you worried about? And I think we've seen this, right? We've been in this situation. We've had this experience where this moment is a moment we've been in. We're like, oh, just following the rules would be easy and doesn't feel right.
Yeah, and it seems like there's like an underlying current here that in these different situations, whether it's the Mandalorians or the bounty hunters, that like you said, Brian, in the past, we had to create these rules because somebody did something and it caused us to take on too much risk. It caused us to have too bad of an impact, right? Mm-hmm. So the rules exist to try to narrow the range of outcomes so that we don't have things like that happen again. And you just have to respect it. And in a way, we absolutely want to respect the learnings of what came before. And so we do want to understand the intent of the rules. I think that's critical. And this is where Din can provide this unique perspective. He is seeing this ideal state. He's the only one that actually just did the thing, right? He sold Grogu. And so the other Mandalorians in that example are a little bit further away, right? The other bounty hunters are a little bit further away. They're like second hand, third hand. And so they're like, of course, to them, it's just follow the rules, just do the thing.
Just a transaction, yeah.
Yeah, but for him, it's way more than that. This is a story that he's a part of. And I think that's where it's exciting for us in our lives, is we end up in these stories where there's an opportunity to violate the rules in order to help us to achieve the vision that we have. And it's especially powerful when that vision or that mission is shared. It's not like Din is just going out on a limb. That's a risk. If you're like, well, my vision is this, and I'm the only one standing behind this, but I'm just going to have to do it anyway, that's a little bit risky, right? There's times when that can be okay, I think. Because in a way, you could look at that and say, well, isn't that what Din's doing here? He's the only one standing for his position. Excellent. Yes, we should do that in this situation. The thing is, the other Mandalorians technically are standing for it too. They just don't know it yet, right?
Well, yeah. And so, exactly as you said, to sharpen it, right? Why do we have all these rules? We have all these rules to prevent bad things from happening, right? This is a bad thing that could happen if you break this rule, right? If you let everybody know that the Mandalorians are hiding here, then the Imperials will come wipe us out, right? If you take off your helmet, then you're not going to be disciplined enough to really live this lifestyle. So, and we have businesses make rules all the time. Organizations make rules all the time. Families make rules all the time. It's really helpful. It's just, you all should always put a helmet on before you ride your bike down the street. These are very useful rules, right? They're there to prevent bad things from happening. But you're right. If you're in the privileged position to observe that following the rules will make a worse bad thing happen, that the whole point of the organization is to protect foundlings, and following the rules in this case is going to potentially violate that rule, violate that principle. Then when you're in this conflict, then you're the one that has to make that explicit. You're the one that has to, make that clear. And so Din does that, by taking it upon himself to violate the rule, for sure. Like, okay, I'm going to go personally rescue the child. I'm going to go personally put myself at risk to rescue the child. I'm going to go fight all the stormtroopers. And the reason we respect what he's doing is not because he broke the rule. The reason we respect what he's doing is because he put the principle and the benefit to somebody else over his own safety, over his own small-minded following of the rules. So I want to tag this. Another moment that I think is really important that leads up to this is that, the Mandalorians are very clearly like they're putting this onus on him of like, just follow the rules. And when he's at the forge and he's asking them to make armor for him, and he's delivered all the materials, and he's so this is a good moment for him. He's becoming more of a Mandalorian. He's leaning into the process. He's getting this symbolic progress of becoming a better member of the tribe by having better armor and being down there with them. Like, that's really good. The armor offers to make him a sigil, and he's like, oh, you can't do that. That wasn't an honorable kill. Like, I don't deserve that. I think that moment's really important because he is demonstrating to them in a very detailed way that he's committed to the principle and the code, right? He's like, I really want to have the cool armor. I really want to have a sigil, but I didn't earn that thing. Like, I'm thinking about the principle. And so he's challenging them to recognize that his viewpoint. He's challenging them to recognize that he's committed to the rules, but also committed to the principles. And so by the end of the episode, spoiler alert, they come bail him out. They have seen that he's operating on principle that they're aligned with, and then they can understand when it's appropriate that one of these rules doesn't apply anymore. Like, secrecy of the covert is not more important than taking care of our people, is not more important than taking care of foundlings, is not more important than righting injustice.
Mm-hmm.
And so that I love this idea that, if you follow the rules when it's appropriate to follow the rules in a way that is, they would frame as honorable, in a lot of context, right? But I'm committed to the purpose of this organization. I'm committed. I'm not trying to take advantage for myself, right? If you demonstrate that, then when you take another selfless act that violates the rules, they kind of get it. Like, oh yeah, like, no, he's actually thinking deeply about the principles, and we can all respect that. We can all challenge ourselves to see if that makes sense.
I think one simple way to practice this, and I know people might already do this in different ways, but just to try to make it more helpful is, when you feel something weird in your gut, right? You don't know how to describe it. You have some gut feel that there's something else that you should be doing instead, that you should stand up and say something in a meeting, that whatever just happened in a relationship, like, shouldn't just go by me, and I can't just let that go. We need to go revisit that again, even though it's going to seem like the more, in that situation, in the relational one, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but it's more so like the cultural norm versus a rule would be to let it go.
Uh-huh.
Like, that is the exact moment where you just got to be like, let me put my finger on that for a second, and I might have to come back to it tonight, when I'm reflecting, and tomorrow morning when I'm reflecting, but I can't just stop. Or I may even sometimes, there's going to be a decision that's made where if I don't stand up and say something, then I don't know that I'm going to have a chance in the future. And so at that point, I need to recognize, am I going to, like Din, right? That's his moment. He's realizing that he has to do something now. If I don't do something now and try something, then I don't know how I'm going to process this in the future. And so I think it's tough to tell somebody to look for a gut feel. So I think I want to pair that with the reflection. Gut feel, reflect. Gut feel, reflect.
Well, and I would say from a playbook standpoint, right, the simplest thing is zoom out, right? The reflection is not like, how do I feel about this? Let me think about that for an hour. The reflection thing is like, why am I uncomfortable with this? Zoom out. In the bigger picture, where is this going? Am I happy with that? Would I be happier if I took an action? Would I be happier if I didn't participate? Would I be happier if I resist, right? Not just like my own personal happiness, but like, would I feel more consistent with my goals? Would I feel integrity? Would I feel character by taking an action, or by not taking an action, or by not participating? And so this zooming out is really powerful. And so we actually see this. This is common, but it's nice the way it's shown in this episode, right? He kind of does the thing that he's uncomfortable with, and then he does the next thing that he's uncomfortable with. He takes another job, and he walks out of town, and he sits down in a ship, and he gets ready to leave, and then he's like, well, crap. And he has a tangible thing that reminds him of his emotional commitments, of who he really wants to be. But that happens to us. Like, sometimes you do have to reflect. Sometimes you do have to walk away and chew on it. That at some point it'll just arise to you like, oh, no, the future that I want is not the future where I just let things happen, where the rules just churn on and everything is fine. Like, oh, no, in this case, the rules are doing the wrong thing and nobody else is in a position to see or do something about it. Yeah, it's kind of on you.
Yeah.